What is happening? There we go, live. So, Victor, welcome on to the show, and great to have you here. We were talking about it last week about having you on, and I've been doing some things with you recently, and uh, everything you've been writing and talking about kind of fascinates me. Of how you, I know last week we were going for like an hour just talking about various different things, and thought it'd be great to have you on and just hopefully other people might be able to get a bit of value out of it. But would just yeah, love to hear what's been happening since last week, how everything's going, how you're seeing the world of AI, and what's new at the moment, what you're seeing that's new and exciting.
Yeah, well, thanks, Tom, first of all, for inviting me. It's always great to chat with you. We have done some great work together, and it's a pleasure to be here on the podcast. Um, you know, AI and te emerging tech world is always evolving. Great things, products coming up, great conferences happened recently. We saw Google Next, we saw NTT Upgrade, we saw a couple of other great conferences. We saw GTC this year that had a bunch of great announcements uh, and exciting things in the tech and AI space. We're from, it started with AI, then it moved to Gen AI, and now we're moving towards the agentic AI space.
Yeah,
Um, so it's a rapidly evolving world. Now, from agentic AI, we are also seeing things come around for physical AI, which is a amalgamation and a combination of AI models plus physical devices like robots, autonomous vehicles, drones that can be controlled by these AI models.
yeah,
So it is fascinating to see how the world has evolved. I started my journey as a data scientist, um, and then slowly moved to journalism and started writing about it. Uh, but when I used to work on AI, it was mere transformers and it was used within enterprises, but the adoption wasn't as great. But today we see AI in everything, right? Whether it be our phones, whether it be laptops. Now, a bunch of companies are also putting out AI powered laptops now. Now, you mean we'd never imagine the tech evolution to be this rapid within, talking about the last 4 years. So the landscape is rapidly changing now. From agentic AI, we are moving towards physical AI. We would be seeing AI's integration in a lot more devices, whether it be healthcare, whether it be customer care, whether it be enterprise adoption. Uh, the space is only growing larger and larger day by day and doesn't seem to slow down any day.
yeah. It's crazy, right? Like everything that's happening with agentic, and I don't know. I was having this conversation with Eric Siegel the other week, last week, and just and I guess it's coming up in a lot of conversations that I'm having alongside what we spoke last week and what you're writing about at the various different conferences. Just how it's impossible to know what's going to come next. Like it's just so exciting and seeing what's coming, seeing the um, seeing businesses get like a grapple of it, and seeing all these early stages of what's just going to become uh like expected from companies. Like it's amazing. It's like the whole thing with internet going into planes at the moment. It's kind of one of those things you think we're so advanced, we've got all these models. How did something like that take so long? And how do other things advance so quickly, I guess is my point, while other things take ages to adapt, and companies want to use them or pull them in. And I know you've written about various different innovations, like you mentioned, like Next and GTC, some of the biggest ones. I've never been, so I'm really keen to hear how you see those experiences and like what you do. But yeah, it's a wild time, like you're saying, man.
Yeah, so unfortunately, I couldn't be at GTC because I was just coming back from a couple of other conferences. I was, but I watched the whole live stream, and same goes for Google Next because that time I was attending NTT Upgrade, which was another really fascinating conference in San Francisco.
Yeah.
But I'll take you a little back. I think when I went to Lenovo World in November, last year November,
Where was that?
and it was in Seattle.
Nice.
So so I went to Lenovo World in November, and a bunch of their releases were there. And I think I think the Nvidia eventually announced a couple of things there, started announcing a couple of things there, started to wanted to gain momentum for their GTC announcements and other things that the other products that they wanted to release throughout the year, this
Yeah.
year. So Nvidia there announced the Blackwell integration, and then they have this AI group where Red Hat, AMD, Intel, and NVIDIA are all a part of this group, and their goal is to Microsoft, and their goal is to, not only help AI on the software side, but also help the hardware development for these AI models.
Mm.
Because as we know that these models are just growing exponentially, and their size and the depth is also growing. So a there's a massive hardware requirement on the back end, right? Whether it be technologies in data centers that can transfer data at a faster rate, whether it be GPUs or other hardware infrastructure that are required for AI model training and maintenance. So there's a massive demand for hardware as well.
Mm.
And it was the first time that we are seeing Intel and AMD, who are both rivals, come
Yeah.
into the same group. Uh, and Pat Gelsinger announced that group, and then I think he later resigned before the start of this year, or at the start of this year. So Lisa Su was there, Pat Gelsinger was there, and it was great to see both rivals come on stage back to back. Pat was shaking hands with Lisa Su, who is a CEO of AMD, and I think that seeing these companies coming together for a cause now that they know that they can collaboratively create a more bigger market
Mm.
was great. And then I saw some announcements from Meta. Then Lenovo announced a couple of great things. One of the things that stood out for me was one of their virtual avatars for Alzheimer's disease. So there's a virtual AI model that the people who are suffering from Alzheimer's can talk to.
Yeah.
And that AI model, that virtual avatar, can not only remember what they said, but also give them advices on how to live their life
Mm.
and how to break bounds of society. That because there's a whole lot of judgment when you're suffering from something like Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
So that critical care is much required. Then I also saw another AI avatar for Gen Zs. Depression within Gen Zs is another big problem, and it's
Yeah.
a huge issue. So there's an AI model, AI avatar that they can talk to, and to talk about their day-to-day issues, whether it be something as sensitive as like bullying in school, or having a hard time studying, or having a hard time convincing their parents
Yeah.
for the future. So I think the d- when you pick a cause and you're solving a particular problem, then the role of AI and the impact of AI could be much bigger, rather than just chatbots or uh, simple integrations within enterprise software. So that's what Lenovo focused on, and I loved it. And they also, as I said, talking about laptops and devices, they showed their AI integrated laptop that can work without an internet. This model just stays on your laptop, and
That's sick.
it can run without an internet, and it can remember all that you're doing throughout the day or throughout the year.
What's it like?
Uh,
It tracks like activity focused and like tasks, and then remembers like the kind of workflow you would go on, I guess, or like what kind of actions you
Yeah,
do.
like it can summarize, it can just, so if you receive emails, then it can just summarize that what happened, what are the emails that you received while you were offline, and that while you were offline, and it can just give you a summary that, hey, these are the things that you missed
Mm.
since you logged out yes. So that was amazing. And then, coming to GTC as well, we saw lots of hardware implementation, like we saw the Blackwell chips.
Mm.
We also saw how NVIDIA is working in physical AI with Disney. There's like a real robot who has AI models integrated that will be used for Disney animation
Yeah.
and real life movies. So it's not just on the enterprise side, but also on the lifestyle side. Uh, an entertainment side, and it's great to see that some the technology can also help make bigger movies and
Yeah.
help capture that grandeur. And through technology, we can create like real robots who are like who one doesn't have to control, like moving throughout the movie set. So that was great to see. And and then talking about other stuff like Next or entity upgrade. An entity upgrade, I think one message I mean, there were people from representatives from Databricks. I also interviewed the vice president of Broadcom, Ram,
Nice.
and put out a story for Fast Company recently, where he talked about the growing role of Ethernet and photonics within data centers
Yeah.
uh, to enhance AI training and the data transfer rate for sustaining these models. Now that so much data is being handled by them on a day-to-day basis. So, uh, that back end side is becoming important. Plus, he talked about the enterprise adoption. As as AI is being promoted throughout, like the adoption is being promoted, but in reality, the adoption isn't that much within enterprises. It is, let's say they are saying it at 90%, but it's almost at a 60-70% still. A
Yeah.
lot of enterprises are still hesitant. A lot of enterprises are having difficulties, let's say, converting their traditional old models that they have been, working on since the last 20, 25 years, and then now, going to AI.
Mm.
So there's a lot of issues in creating data and other stuff.
Yeah.
Plus there's also a thing about training their employees or people, and making them aware about how AI exactly works, how it can streamline productivity.
Yeah.
So the enterprise adoption has not been up to par. And that's why we have also seen a lot of losses within the tech sector,
Mm.
because there's a lot of promotion, a lot of products that are being released, but no one's really buying it,
Yeah.
as
Not falling
much
into that
as.
trap yet, or falling, not thinking through how it can actually help them to like invest more
Y-
pounds they need to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, that is a thing. Plus, not everyone has that budget, that much of a budget to,
Mm.
now shift towards, especially SMEs, SMBs, small and medium-sized businesses. Um, they don't really have that budget to now go on an AI infrastructure and then maintain that,
Yeah.
and maintain those hardwares and those subscriptions. That adoption is yet to come on ground level. Uh, Big tech is always, big tech or Fortune 500 has already implemented AI, and they are the quick ones, but a large scale adoption from enterprises is
Yeah.
just not there. And it is projected that by 2027 that the scene would be much better. There would be at least 87% adoption, 85 to 87% adoption that we'll be seeing.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for the future. And you know, the other thing is also because we were talking about Cloud Next, Google's Cloud Next conference that happened. And then we are also seeing so we are also seeing like developments from OpenAI or these companies. So companies like Google, XAI, with the Grok or an OpenAI have made it so simple. Like you can just go on a browser and log into either ChatGPT or log into Gemini,
Yeah.
log into Perplexity, and just uh, use these AI tools for subscription. Majority of the enterprises are utilizing that somewhere, for
Yeah.
summarizing their files or summarizing their meetings or for regular tasks, regular day-to-day tasks, like let's say someone is stuck somewhere coding and then need help. So these companies have also like made it really made AI really accessible. So we'll see how the adoption for within enterprise software and the traditional AI that we are seeing, like let's say like these chatbots from Perplexity, OpenAI, or Google, and how that ecosystem in the future works and comes out together. So that is a really interesting aspect to be seen. And on the hardware side, there's now, talks about quantum computing growing.
Yeah, it's getting hot, man. There's a lot of people
Yeah,
going into that sector.
yeah. I have covered a bunch of stories on quantum computing. It went hot since Huan Heng Seng made that comment about quantum computing still being 10 years to 12 years away.
Yeah,
That became a hot space. It's Quantum computing is still not up to the level real to perform real world tasks and solve real world use cases because the hardware has not grown up to that
yeah.
scale. Now that we are now that we are seeing technologies like photonics or other things come in, I
Mm.
think we'll also see a lot of evolution within quantum computing sector as well, where like big tech enterprises could solve. Like people are already solving great use cases with AI, whether it be like drug discovery, whether it be a couple of other things, but we'll be seeing a lot more innovation and evolution happening within enterprises now.
Yeah.
And if quantum computing is somehow uh, just like GPU as a service deployed over cloud, then that becomes even better. That gives you even bigger scale and an even bigger platform to innovate and play on. So exciting things happening in the space.
Yeah, fucking loads exciting of that happening. But it's interesting with quantum because what was it? Yesterday I saw, or the day before yesterday, that one of the computers had figured out like a problem within like 30 seconds, and it took something like 5 times the length of how long the planet's been around or something to figure out that
Yeah,
equation, and it's figured it out.
yeah.
It's kind of like double sworded, where it's like, well, it sounds impressive on the front end, but on the when you think about it, like, will it be the technology? I was speaking to someone else as well that came on the podcast. I forget who it was that was saying it, but like how they think quantum's more of a bit of a facade, and I was like, well, but what if it does take us to like space and other planets and helps us cure diseases and brings in an even more secure way of like because obviously cryptography, like breaking all current password protections, that's the big fear that it will break, and obviously then you've got a massive fraudulent situation on your hand because people will be able to easily access people's information, and there'll be a massive race to protect all that information very quickly, which is probably the fastest thing. But it's I don't know. Do you said it's 10 to 12 years away? Do you feel like it's more of a thing that's gonna I don't know. What's like your whole perception of it? Is it going to be something that's real and going to be coming in and take us to the moon, or is it something that's going to have all these possibilities, but in real life, it's actually going to do very simple things for us?
Well, quantum computing is already solving a few problems, right? A few hard mathematics calculation, a few really hard coding problems, or really a few really hard drug discovery problems. Henseng said that it is 10 to 12 years away, but now that I see and now that I've been to so many conferences and seen so much evolution within the hardware sector as well, evolving, like these hardware technologies growing, I believe it should be,
There you go.
yeah. Yeah, it was the Google's Philo chip that you were talking about. Yeah, that's what I was going to mention in a bit.
Yeah,
Um,
ten
so so th-
septillion years to solve. How long's ten
yeah,
septillion years, Victor? That's like
th- it's like ten with like 20, I think it was like 27 zeros or something like that.
that's mad.
Uh, yeah, so it was the Google Willow chip. And they put like quantum technology on a chip, which was even more fascinating from Google. Like if that chip can be integrated within like GPU clusters or stuff like that, then AI can like the compute and the AI's inference becomes like massive, unimaginable. It can
Yeah,
answer anything from the universe. But there's also like there are also considerations for power and other stuff like that.
like
But
electricity and stuff and like energy.
yes, the power consumption, the right fit for the right hardware fit, the right maintenance fit. So that is yet to be discovered, but it works up to 11. So that's the thing about quantum, right? It works. It's not like it doesn't work right now, and it is working, but up to a certain level. Now, the thing about quantum is there's a thing called qubits, which are the really real essence of quantum computers. Like these are data packets that can exist in multiple states, and that's wherein what enables calculation faster. Like think of like, let's say five calculators. So just as an example, five calculators working together. So your your inference and your calculation is much faster, right? Thinking rate substantially increases. So that currently the number of physical qubits have only been up to 50 to 70. I recently interviewed Atom Computing for one of my pieces for Fast Company, and they were also present at NVIDIA's GTC panel, the Quantum Day panel, and they told Huang Heng Seng about their developments in quantum computing, and they're working alongside Microsoft to scale these qubits, physical qubits, uh, from 100 to up to 1,000, you know. But right now, currently there are like 50 to 70 physical qubits available for to utilize, right? Uh, it is soon that these people are working to scale these qubits to 100 through innovation in technology, and real change or real massive breakthrough would come at like a 300 to 1,000 qubit level. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So so
big.
that is gonna take some time. Like for them, for now, what I refer to when I say real breakthroughs is things that quantum computers can calculate or things that quantum computers can discover that today's AI models can't.
Yeah,
So for quantum computing to surpass, so quantum computing has to surpass AI model in the levels of how quickly it processes things, how quickly how quickly there's output or how accurate the output is, right? AI models are powered by these massive GPU and data center clusters. But for quantum to surpass that whole infrastructure, there needs to be a scalability. Qubits need to be scaled to a substantial level. Currently, it is quantum computing is helping solve a lot of problems like drug discovery or discovering new proteins or new medicines. But 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 that rate or that scale is really low. So that's an issue. But yes, if in the next 5 to 7 years, I would say, the hardware evolution that I've seen, uh, traveling around the world, uh, I would say that I see that breakthrough in the next 5 to 7 years, uh, coming in. The amount of hardware innovation that there is now, that now there's photonics coming in data centers, is like literally like you using lasers to transfer data, right?
yeah,
Data at laser speed. So that is fantastic, right? It's like Iron Man technology coming to life.
yeah,
So I don't think it's 10 to 12 years. I think it should be somewhere within the range of 5 to 7 years. We will see massive breakthroughs. Biggest industries utilizing quantum computing.
yeah,
Uh, AI developers utilizing quantum computing, like infusing quantum computers within their AI model infrastructure to
yeah,
make these AI models even stronger. Now, when I talked to Atom Computing, they also told me that if quantum computing is inculcated with AI models, it can also help the AI models make more energy efficient,
yeah,
as well as the efficiency in memory, like the time it takes to process information and deliver the output. So less energy is consumed when the inference time is really low, right? So now we can see milliseconds of like reasoning time, and then the output is right there. You ask a question, the output is right there.
yeah, straight away.
Uh,
Like you know exactly
yeah,
what to do, and that's the big thing with schools at the moment. Like, what was it yesterday? Donald Trump passing that law for for AI to be an educate. I watched the 2 minute clip, so I really don't know, or 5 minute clip. I don't know the full story, but I watched the spokesperson, and he was signing one of the orders about how big it will be. And obviously, AI is now. I know it was already happening in China, but US,
Hmm.
it's some sort of move. I don't know what it is. Like it's obviously a law they've passed, but that kids in school are going to be taught AI in like
Yeah,
primary education, which is mad because you think if I was being taught this kind of stuff when I was a kid, our ideas would be so like imagine if I was a kid now or someone in college or university and you had access to Perplexity, ChatGPT, image creation, video creation, knowledge directories like code bases, open source coding, like you can build websites within literally 20 minutes off a prompt in cursor. I'm not saying that they're great and they'll have a lot of bugs in them and you need to fix that with a proper developer, but like the fact that you can just get from to ideation that quickly is crazy. Like it really blows my mind to think what tips like a 16-year-old has at their fingertips today. It's mad.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, as you said, it's really crazy because I remember my days and going to the library for just to get some information about something that I don't know, right? I did my bachelor's and I completed my master's. I was the topper of my master's batch. A lot of my time was spent in the library because problems and coding was tough. And then, although internet was there, but then you also need to know like the crux of it. And for the crux of it for someone to explain it this simply, that wasn't available. Although, a lot of courses, like I used to watch a lot of Andrew and G's courses or Andres Krapati's courses,
Yeah,
and life came a full circle when I got a chance to interview Andrew Ng, and I told him that became successful in my master's in data science and AI because of your courses. I was used to watch your courses, whether it be deep learning AI or whether it be your courses on YouTube, and that helped me a lot. And since then we got in touch and he followed me on LinkedIn, and which was like a massive thing for me that my idol following me on LinkedIn, right?
awesome.
So and even I was telling Andrew, 2 years back that he also has implemented a lot of this stuff, like to me simplify education for students.
Mm,
Recently, like 2 days back, he launched this company called Kira AI full-fledgedly.
yeah,
Kira Learning, which utilizes AI agents, and now it is helping teachers and students use AI. Like for teachers, that platform can help generate complete like courses and how to teach a particular subject
yeah,
and it can generate like test questions if you provide them platform with students answer sheets or students responses. Then it also does the grading automatically. Then it also provides students with the access to an AI tutor. Like you can the students can log into the platform and there's an AI tutor who like teaches you a particular subject, whether it be coding, whether it be science, or whether it be anything else. So that is fascinating, right? And 2 years back, that's what I was telling Andrew, that we did not have so much resources.
yeah. And this is a company called Kira, right? It's the one I saw that you
Yeah,
posted about
Kira.
and
Kira
AI fund.
learning. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it's really interesting. I generally don't write about such subject, but it really intrigued me. Like, generating whole courses and generating tests for students, and students can learn subjects through AI at their own pace. And the AI can also provide students with recommendations on how they should, move with the subject, what they are lacking currently, what their understanding is lacking. And so it's great to see that integration, right? And the platform is already rolled out in a couple of schools in Tennessee, yeah, United States, and soon we'll be seeing statewide adoption coming May 15th. They're going to roll out statewide, and they're going to, gather even more insights from these schools that what are the problems they're facing, how they're using the platforms.
So
And
cool.
this information from each school can also be shared among schools to how to improve their
That's
education
cool.
systems.
It's like a
Yeah,
data stack that can just be shared, and you can apply
yeah,
models to where your students are
e-
failing behind, or
exactly.
to them, or like cultural differences, or
Yeah,
education gaps, and all that kind of stuff.
yeah, yeah. Right. So that is like to me is so fascinating that these days, children have access or will be getting access to such platforms. And
Mm.
AI tutors we never imagined, right? Like we always used to go, I always used to go and ask my teachers doubts and like bug them all the time that, hey, but now they are sorted, they get their valuable time back, they can just tell the students, hey, go home and revise this through the AI tutors. And that's great, right? That it has gone to such detail, like education has gone to such detail. And
Yeah,
as you said, right, that there's always Perplexity or Chat GPT, and now Chat GPT or Perplexity or these tools will be rolling out to students and how to use them and how they can learn from them.
yeah,
Um, and student there's already a lot of interest within the coding space and the cybersecurity space within within young children. I have a nephew who's really young, and he wants to be a cybersecurity specialist. So
already. How old?
yeah, already. I think he is 12 or 13,
That's
and
awesome. So cool.
he has already fixated his mind to be a cybersecurity specialist.
Yeah,
So I was directionless. I was playing soccer at that time. I was not even caring about my career. Later, things like Iron Man and all that, those things fascinated me towards tech, and I used to read a lot of books and lot of comics, and I was fascinated to tech. But these days kids have their like careers in mind already, so
yeah,
that's just so amazing to see that they are sorted and they know what to do, and technology has grown in such a level that it is helping students more and more. And it's also a requirement of the time, because people's attention span has gone so low.
yeah,
There has to be something that streamlines stuff. You cannot be working with these thick stacks of papers, and you cannot be having those thick books
yeah.
anymore.
And they're just not.
Students to
They're not like. That's the problem. I did terribly in school, so I wasn't. Because I was just not interested. I didn't care about school for whatever reason, Victor. And yeah, it always fascinates me. Like now I look at it, and I have a lot of admiration for teachers and a lot of, and I believe it's a needed thing to go to school and everything. I'm not one of those weird people that thinks that's not what you should do. But I know from experience, I didn't learn very well because to your point, I just wasn't interested, and it didn't have context or relevance to what I cared about. And now I joke because if I went back to school now, or I mean, arguably because I'm so embedded in books and reading and places like deep learning, AI, and various other platforms that I use for training or whatever on various different topics, you think I'd probably have the teacher screaming at me to piss off because I'd just be hammering them with questions like, how does that work? How does this work? How does that work? Like I'd be very because now I know what my passions are and what the focus is. But back then, it was read the textbook and pretty much follow the textbook to a T. Like don't have your own um, context, which I don't think is very good for preparing you for the real world. For most parts, I think obviously there's areas like becoming a lawyer, you need to know the law and you need to know it to a very good degree. And I think healthcare, you need to know the basics of performing operations, all that really complicated, hard stuff. But for a lot of people, I think there's a real problem there how people learn, and AI is going to be one of those solvers to show people like this is how you can learn this topic. If you want to learn this topic, this is how to think about this. This is how to think about it in a different context, like a different country or a different business use case or a different whatever. Like, and the big thing still is, can you get on with the people that you're learning from? Like, people are a big proponent, especially in business. If they don't like the person, they're probably not going to buy from them. Like, there's so much competition in most markets, and I think with AI, using it in those situations, to your point, is going to give you a lot more personalization. And I think seeing what is it Andrea and Jagriti are building alongside next to Andrew with Kira, it's those kind of tools are going to be really powerful because it's like your own agent for learning. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's great to also, for me personally, it's great to see that evolution because when AI came in, like full-fledgedly, like ChatGPT came in, and I was writing articles, people had like a taboo about AI,
Mm.
or the use of
Yeah.
AI, whether it be writing, or if someone in their office is using AI for coding, then it was considered cheating. And
Yeah.
a lot of my friends used to say that, and people would like, if someone is, if an a company or media house is using AI to write, or a writer is using AI within their workflow, then it was considered that, oh, that is not authentic idea. Should we read AI written, yeah, plagiarism and data stealing, and you are like stealing data of other writers, and now then that's nothing original about it. I have faced a lot when I was in VentureBeat, right? Because when I was in VentureBeat, we used to openly say that all of us, my editor-in-chief, everyone, the whole company, we used to bang on our chest and say that, although we use AI, but there's always a human in loop. We are making sure that the information is not something that is AI generated, or
Right.
something that is like false, or something that is not happening in the world, but it just generated from AI to make a fascinating angle.
Mm.
And we are also like checking everything, checking each line and checking the headlines, titles, everything before uploading. And
Mm.
there was like a massive rage about it. And then Bloomberg said it that they are using AI, and Wired and a couple of others said that okay, they are also using AI. And there was like a massive rage about it. I remember this I won't name the media house, but this one media house writing articles that VentureBeat and Bloomberg now use AI and it's not original anymore. There's no authenticity
Mm.
anymore in writing. And then people raging about that on Twitter and tagging me, tagging my editor-in-chief and everything. And then there was this lawyer coming in with like a lawsuit that you stole data and you write plagiarized stuff from thousands of writers, and there's going to be a lawsuit and this and that. And it was crazy. Like it was considered a taboo back then. Now we see AI in our phone. Everyone is using it for email, and everyone is just fine with it. Just like, oh, I have to write an email. Let me just tell Apple Intelligence what should I say?
Yeah.
Say
Write
this.
words. Summarize it for me. Make it sound more professional.
Yeah, yeah, say it in a polite corporate manner, or convert this in a polite corporate tone, and everyone's now okay with it. But there was back, it was just like 2, 3 years back, there was like massive rage about the use of AI. And now what we are seeing that slowly AI is getting into schools and to children. And even if you remember then it was when AI first burst in, then it was like there were so many news articles or so many things on it, whether it be in Instagram or so many reels on TikTok about how AI is bad for your children. You
Yeah.
should not let your children use AI. They'll get dumb and they'll get this and they'll get that.
It gets
Uh,
smarter though. Yeah, it's bizarre. It's like I had no idea that was happening. Like I had an idea, but it's funny. It's like it's uh it's like the scene with the calculator, like back in like what the 80s, late 80s, where the schools wanted to ban the calculator and they weren't having
yeah,
it go. It's bizarre. Like and then it was like a requirement when I was at school to have a
yes,
calculator. If you didn't have a calculator, you couldn't take the exam. And it sounds like you're saying the same thing with like now. if you're not using AI, you're going to be left behind, and it's used in
Yes.
God knows how many ways. Like I use it on my phone, on ChatGPT. I got a pro account with ChatGPT, and I got a pro account with Perplexity. I use them all the time on my phone, in meetings, in things, and sometimes just as a note taker. And maybe, like, I get it if you're working at a very high sensitive job, you're not allowed those things. Completely get it, but there's going to be a way. Like, I mean, Musk and Jack Dorsey, is it, saying they don't want IP law and they want to eradicate
Yeah.
it? It's like your whole argument that you're explaining with a media house just goes to nothing. It's just like, well, if they're saying get rid of all IP law, you would, like, I think every publisher will be using AI, and I think some of them, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know, but this is me saying it, my personal opinion. How many people are using it? But just don't want to be truthful about how they're using it. Like they probably got like some hidden workflow, or they check it and it's, oh, I just checked it
Yeah.
because that doesn't count. It's like,
Yeah. No, I think now the scenario has changed substantially, because I think people are a lot acceptant about that they are using AI, because now when I go to LinkedIn, I see job descriptions
mm.
that say that should have experience 2 to 3 years of experience in using AI and AI
Not
platforms. Yeah, not 10 years. Should have at least 2 to 3 years of experience in using AI platforms, and uh, have it. And then when you click on that job, I just do it for fun. When you click on that job to apply, and then it asks, how many years of experience do you have utilizing ChatGPT, Grok, or Perplexity?
yeah.
So that is now these are like biggest companies, and these are questions from biggest companies who are hiring, whether it be in media, whether it be in software, right? That is a line you can, and I'm not kidding, you can check it out. Every other LinkedIn job description says should know how to use AI within the daily workflow to boost productivity. So that is good, right? And I think there's nothing wrong about it. From the start, there was nothing wrong about it.
Mm.
It's just certain stories that drove that sentiment. It's just certain coverages that drove that sentiment. But what is wrong about it? If you have to do, let's say, for example, if someone has to code like 12,000 lines a day, and he uses a little bit of AI help for at least 500 lines or 300 lines a day, what's wrong about it?
Not 11,500 lines.
Yeah, yeah, not the whole code, but if he is, and for using AI, you need, people don't understand, for using AI and getting the right outputs, you need a little bit of education, you need a little bit of creativity.
100%.
You cannot, because these AI systems are always garbage in, garbage out. So if you do not give the right prompts, if you are not telling them the right exact output that you want, then AI is not going to do it. So there's massive scale in that as well, that people that who know you how to use AI, it requires skill. So if they're at the end of the day, if they're doing all that, and then also like using creativity, and it's not completely, they're not completely generated by AI, and if you're using AI for 5 to 10% of your work, and
Yeah.
90% is your own, what's bad in that? I never understood that sentiment, and I'm always I'm always against that AI was never bad. It's something to use for productivity. That's what these systems were created for in the first place, to enhance your productivity, to streamline things, now you go in Perplexity or Google. I don't use Google at all. I go to Perplexity all the time, almost like 95% of the time, that because it's so much better than Google. It just summarizes and give you information. If I
Yeah.
want to learn something, if I want to learn about a term, if I'm interviewing someone and he says a difficult word or says a difficult concept, like let's say, for example, qubits, what are qubits? I can just go on Perplexity and search about it, and
And you get the
and you can
reference. well.
Yeah, you get the reference, you get the right description, links,
Yeah,
why the definition is so, and
recommend.
you can also ask further questions, right? So it's great. What's wrong in it? I never understood that trend that AI is bad. I think what's bad is if you are using AI to generate whole articles, right? That is a thing. And then, if someone reads the article makes it obvious enough because AI, there's no structure, there's no writer's creativity, there's no emotion, there's no comparative analysis, nothing.
Yeah,
So if you're like generating like whole articles, whole 1,200 word articles, then yes, of course, that is bad, right? Then what are you doing? Like, what are you here?
yeah. If it's just to hit a quote,
Yeah,
hit a number of articles, that's not really the way to think about it. It's like, but I completely agree, Victor, because it's like you still need to use something to do your research. Like you don't know everything, I don't know everything. Like when you get to an
yeah,
article, I'd imagine, I want to ask you about it in a bit, but like you form it, I'd imagine, thinking, what story do I want to tell? And like you can't always, it just speeds up that kind of process where you think, okay, this is what I'm going to write about, this is who I'm going to interview, this is where I'm going to get commentary from, and this is the research I'm going to reference and read through and go through and do all those things because it's it massively just like how search sped up.
yeah,
People found information like about businesses or where to buy.
yeah,
Now you can get very very contextual information. I think people like just people love to jump to the negatives as well. Yet they still
yes,
use it and they just jump to negatives. It's like I don't get it. Like I really don't.
yeah. And AI, for me personally as a writer, AI has sorted a lot of things. Like, let's say a company approaches me and they say that, you know, they're doing such work or they're acquiring another company for such $1 million. Like, I recently received a news from this company that I was not aware of at all, but it was aware acquiring another company for like $500 million. And I was like, what is this company? Where are they getting this money from?
Got it.
So, you can just go to a Perplexity and see a little bit of history, who the founders are, where did they previously worked, and just gives you that summarized information in one go. The next 10 seconds, you have all the information you want,
Mm,
have all the links you want, have information about their funding rounds as well,
yeah,
right? That makes life so much easier than Googling everything page by page and having like 10 tabs open for every single thing.
yeah,
So it has made my life really easy. For me, when I start like the ideation phase, it automatically comes to my mind because of my certain years of experiences and interviewing people all
mm,
these years. The idea automatically comes to my mind. I have been creative like that, and thank God, touch wood. That's why I became successful more in this space because I'm a data scientist, right?
yeah,
Being a data scientist, I saw a gap when I used to read a lot of articles, but I saw a gap in the market where journalists were writing about technology, but reading their articles, it seemed like they do not completely know about the technology.
yeah. That's
So
really
I
true.
saw,
That's a real big problem at the moment. Yeah,
yeah, so I saw that gap. And I love to write. And my boss saw me writing one day like a blog and putting it on a company group. And you know, I used to also write a lot of research paper and he used to see the way I used to word things. So he was like, why we also have a blogging site? Why don't you start blogging?
yeah,
Writing your own articles. And that's where I started. That I saw that gap that although people are writing about technology and they call themselves tech journalists, but they do not know about the technology. They do not know how these AI models are created behind the scenes.
yeah,
How do data centers work? How does the integration work? What
yeah,
is the structure? What is a data architecture? They write about a data software or a product release, but how is it exactly used within enterprises? So my thing was I have used these things hands-on, like whether it be an SAP, whether it be like Python. I've coded over Python. I've used transformers to
Yeah.
create AI models. I've used
You're in the
uh,
trenches.
y-
You know what happens.
yeah,
You know how to
yeah, and
software.
yeah, and I did my bachelor's in information technology. I learned about computer systems, hardware, how these work, what kind of a difference does it make. So I saw that gap and I built on it, right? So that's the thing, right? And so for me, there was always creativity on my side. And when I see like let's say a news or when a company approaches me or gives me an interview opportunity, I already get angles in my head. But but what AI has made it easier is to, hunt for that information really quickly. And that gives me like a, let's say, 0.5% more perspective to my story. And it just fine tunes it. It just helps it structure it a little better because now you know one or two facts more about the company, or that's something that you really want to ask to the CEO,
Yeah.
something that has happened recently. So I think information is in our palms, and I think there's no time because every day there's so much news. Every day there's so many things happening in the tech world, in the business world, in the hardware innovation side of world.
Mm.
So there's no time to, to Google and wait and think and this and that. You have to be quick. You have to act quick. You have to give readers something interesting to read. Gone is the time for those descriptive articles. People want to know the maximum amount of information
In the shortest.
in the shortest of time. So
It's
so
that
so
hard thing.
so that's the thing, and that's what we are solving with Observer, right? At New York Observer, that's what our goal is to. It should be we are not doing lengthy articles. The Observer is not doing lengthy articles, uh, 600, 700 words, but all the information you need, and you do not need to go to another articles. And another thing AI has sorted is like backlinks.
Yeah.
Um, I can, go to like McKinsey reports or whether it be a Forrester report. Traditionally, I used to get these reports sent when I first started my career. I used to get these reports sent and I used to read through them and remember that, I read that report the other month. Let me refer that in this story.
Yeah.
But now what you can do is just ask Perplexity, what is the market size?
Yeah.
Or ask a chat GPT through deep search that what is the market size, how much is it going to grow by 2029, and it just gives you bunch of links to a bunch of reports.
Yeah. To
So
various
how
different ones
sorted?
match out the
Yeah,
content that you need at you.
yeah. So it has also helped make things factually correct,
Yeah.
backlink it to the right things, have things factually correct. So I think AI has only enhanced things, and as you also said that you never understood why people were against it.
I never will. I think it's well, you'll know this as well, Victor. Like media sells when it's bad news, or like it gets a lot more attention. Not media, but like just general stories and general things that happen. People like to focus on the negatives for some bizarre reason. I think there's two things that I see personally that people prefer almost want to see the kind of risky negative stories because I guess it propels you to action and you think, shit, I don't want that to happen to me.
Yeah,
And people are also have this weird obsession with trying to predict what's going to happen. Like when I stepped into the tech scene, I just saw so many predictions, and I was like, why is everyone so obsessed with wanting to know what's going to happen in 10 years, 20 years? And I
yeah,
think ChatGPT was. I remember, it was like people were saying things like ChatGPT aren't going to happen, and then it's like, and they were like, oh, it's 10, 15, 20 years away. And then it happened in September 2022 or whenever it was. And it was like, now what do you think? Like, it's like, that's just
yeah,
proving massively wrong. Like,
yeah,
it's, you don't know what's going to happen. And maybe some things are 1,000, 5,000 years away, but I wouldn't be surprised if something like you're saying, like quantum, even if it came in 2 years, someone figured it out somewhere, some 22-year-old kid or 18-year-old college dropout, and was just like, oh, flick that switch, boom, like discovered by accident. Happens all the time. Happens all, maybe not to that degree, but it's a really weird observation I had. Like, why are those are the two things that most time? The funny thing is, the predictions don't come true in the time period, and
Mhm.
the bad things never happen. So it's like, why are
Mhm.
those the two things that get a lot of the attention? Not just in media, in everything, like enterprise and customers and B2B. And when I was working in engineering and with my day to day life, like you picture the worst that's going to happen and it never happens. It's like, why do we focus on it? It's such a weird behavior.
Yeah. I've also seen a thing about, you know, people or writers write things just for the sake of likes and repost on social media.
You shouldn't be a writer if that's what you do. Like, it's a bit shit. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's something I am never in favor of. I think information should be as it is. If opinions, I am an opinions writer.
Yeah.
Many people don't like my articles even. They think they're like dissing or bashing. So
Really?
I've met companies at conferences who were upset with me because
Really?
I write, yeah, yeah, yeah. And I won't take any names, but
No, don't. But
a huge, big CEO comes to me and he's like, "You're Victor Date, right?" I was like, "So where are you working now?" I was like, "I'm doing for some good work for Fast Company. I'm doing some good work for Observer, a bunch of other platforms." He's like, "Yeah, I've been reading your articles since the VentureBeat days. Why are you so against our company? Can't you write good things about us?" And he literally says this in front of like 10 people, and everyone is at coffee at lunch break. Huge, huge company CEO.
yeah,
But it's fascinating to see what bothers them is my article or my things or what I say about their company.
yeah.
Like, why did you write about this? And that's like, I'm just supposed to deliver information as it is. I do opinions. Since the last 5 years, I've been writing opinions, and that's my opinion. That's solely my view, my analysis.
Mm,
That does not reflect the market sentiment, but I try to make it based on the ground reality of the data that is available out there or the work that you have done in the past. But yeah, he was really upset and he did not invite me to his company's conference
mm.
the other time. Although I attended it the other 2 years, but after he met me, he made sure that I'm not invited that year. So that even
What?
that
They,
those things happen.
yeah.
Huge company, huge market revenue, so good. But they just see you're good in people's eyes until you're writing good things about them, right?
That's a really shitty way to be. Like as a
Yeah,
CEO, that's the thing. I was actually having this idea, not your idea, but as a similar kind of thing. Because I've been kicked out of places, or not kicked out. I've been asked to leave uh, booths or areas, or I haven't been invited back to conferences, and I don't really give a shit because I'm not an editor or journalist. It's not what I'm like building, I guess, to the same degree. Like I've obviously got other interests, but it does make me, similar to your point, stand there and think like, what are you doing? Like, if anything, this just makes me trust you less. Like, the fact
yeah,
you're now taking a back foot, you want to hide things from me, you don't want me turning up to things, you don't want me doing this, you don't want me poking around. It's like, that is what a good journalist does, and they give an honest opinion. And if it isn't, you don't think it's the right opinion, invite them to your conference and change their mind, or show
yes,
them what you're working on. Not to say you're not invited. It's like a grumpy 10-year-old throwing their toys out the pram. You just think, you look like an idiot.
yeah,
At least in my opinion. I'm not saying that's your opinion, but to me, that's what I think instantly. I'm like, you're doing yourself a disservice because if anything, if that situation happened, I'd be like, you need to invite Victor to the conference and show him what we're building and like get his honest, like understand where he's coming from, like understand him
eh,
more, take him for a lunch, understand what he wants to build. Not be like, oh, why are you embarrassing me and then ghost you? It's like, what,
yeah,
10? Like, what are you doing?
yeah, yeah. Now there's another strategy, about
Yeah.
when you said about inviting in conferences. There's another strategy. that you're not doing great work, but let's invite a journalist, give him like a massive, let's book a great hotel, right? Have a conference in this great hotel in a great city that is lively. There's everything, and let's invite the journalist, have him
The
here for 3 days, and then and then show him things that are average.
yeah,
And but still at the end of the 3 days or 4 days, tell him that, hey, if you could just please promote our product or just write the work that we are doing, that would be so great. We invited you to the conference. I mean,
yeah,
just like as a barter, if you could just write about us, even that has happened to me.
yeah.
I've been invited to a conference, booked, stayed in a, had me stay in a great hotel,
Nice dinners.
had me, yeah, yeah, good dinner, good lunch. Although they did not pay for the cab and a few other things and this and that, but like had this conference in the best hotel the city has. And then when I attended the conference, I was like, okay, this is your implementation. When I cross-questioned them, I was like, what's so special about this? Isn't this uh, being done by 12 other companies as well?
Mm.
Like, what's so special about this? What's your key differentiator? And they're like, no, we don't have any key differentiator. We just want you to write about it. I was like, how? And why? And why? They're like, at least, if you could just do 2 to 3 stories. I was like, 2 to 3 stories with you doing nothing different or nothing groundbreaking or innovative.
Yeah,
They're like, yeah, but they're customer studies. I was like, but I don't care what your customer says. Your customers are always going to say good things about you.
yeah,
Even they are at this conference displaying their product. So how do I write? And I ended up and eventually I ended up writing nothing about it because I tried really hard. And I asked them for information, and they did not want to reveal a certain amount of things. And when I said, okay, then okay, let me just write about this. And they're like, no, 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 don't write about that. It's still in development. It's not released yet. I was like, but you showed it. Do you not want to promote it? They're like, no, and this and that. And
that's so pathetic.
I tried to think about stories for a week. I had like continuous emails from them that, are you writing a story about us? Are you writing a story about us? Um, And I had like continuous emails from them, but at the end of the week, I was like, you know what? I don't think any angle is working out for this one. So
Yeah,
I'm sorry, it's not my fault. I asked for information and
yeah,
you guys said there's nothing different about it, there's nothing this, that. So what do I write about, So it also happens the other way,
yeah,
although there are companies, as you said, that invite someone to a conference, show them our products. That's how I have discovered a lot of companies as well, right?
yeah,
Like I'll talk about Aveva. Aveva is a company that is doing great work with Schneider Electric for the manufacturing industry and other industries as well. And they have great customers doing great work with AI. I saw their technology, I saw their enterprise software, and there's massive use of tech and AI, and it's just so good to see AI being used in such nuanced use cases for industries.
yeah.
And they're solving a particular problem, right? The industrial problem with AI. What no one's solving, we are solving.
Mm.
So that was great. And I had heard about Aveva. I had covered Aveva in one or two stories in the past, but I did not like completely know the company's offerings or what large scale work they are doing, what scale.
Mm.
And they invited me and they showed me, and they were so good, and they told me everything, and whether I had like questions or anything about their products or technology or how does this work. They connected me to the right executives. They gave me those interviews. They gave
Yeah,
me the opportunity to ask questions, and that not only helped me understand about their company, but also understand about technology. So you're also like adding value to a journalist's life. Our thing is to write stories and create angles and create a perspective and provide readers with a perspective.
Yeah.
And my stories, I try to leave readers with something to think about. You know, after you complete reading the story, there should be something that should be stuck in your mind that you're thinking that, wow, man, I read this. This is great. Let me tell my friends, and you have those discussions with your
Yeah.
friends, with other people in your company or your colleagues or anyone, and that ignites a way, right? So that's my goal with my stories, like sparking curiosity. So that's what these companies such as Aveva and a bunch of others. I have discovered so many great companies that I did not know about at all, but they gave me that opportunity to come have a first-hand look at their technology, uh, give me some, educate me on something that I didn't know at all.
Yeah.
And that's just such a massive value add
Yeah.
to a journalist's life. You educated someone on something that he did not have uh, a one bit of knowledge of.
Yeah, you can help them understand. It's a really good point. It happened with me when I went to Splunk's conference. So Splunk had just been
Mm,
bought by Cisco, or the acquisition had been announced. I don't know if it all had gone through, but the it was very public. Like the Cisco CEO was there alongside like the leadership team for Splunk. They put on this big conference in Vegas. It was all glitz and glamour, and it was interesting because the most time, and I'd love to know what you think, Victor, but when I go to those conferences, the most value I get is usually either sitting on the side of workshops and seeing them actually do like projects or some form of problem solving, not necessarily a hackathon, but like a workshop, like a use case, and they basically rip it apart in 3 hours. They've got an idea, and it's a very controlled group of people, or obviously you can have them in like half an hour as well. It vary. Or going to the sessions and just listening to like mm, very demonstrative. This is how, like, clicking through, this is how the platform works. This is what we click. And then obviously off the back of that, you naturally want to interview people to say. The problem I had with in that situation was I was almost being ushered into interviews, and I was like, I have nothing to ask this person. Like, why are you
yeah,
giving me an interview? Like, I don't want to speak to them. I'm not here to learn about, or for that particular story that I was writing at the time, or Hannah was writing. Sorry, not that I don't really write that many stories ever. Occasionally, when I see things, if I go to a conference, like I'm going to Abby's conference, and I go to speak at like Barclays Rise, which is a place in London, and I might write an article off the back of that, but it would be more purely opinion, and I might not write anything for another 3 4 months. But my point is, in that situation, I was writing stories because I really wanted to understand how cybersecurity worked and like how they were integrating with the big network provider. I didn't know too much about Cisco. I kind of knew how they built this like grassroots way up, and they taught everyone on Cisco systems that were in education. And by the time they came out, like there was this whole thing that people knew how to use Cisco's infrastructure, and they were like the go-to because, and that's how they gained big market share, in my opinion. And it just felt bizarre. I was like, I just want to go listen to the people that are just walking their customers. Like that's what it is. It was a customer conference, and it was like I don't want to just be force-fed interviews that I have no interest in doing. And it happens more than you realize. And now I always say, like, if you're inviting me to get a story or to get an interview, don't invite me because I'm not guaranteeing you anything. Like there's zero guarantee. I'm coming purely because I want to understand this topic. And if I write something, great. And if I hear something I don't like, and it's going to be included. And if I hear something I like, it's going to be included. And I think that's how it should be. And I don't think them as a company should be rushing to hurry you up about it or not telling you, to your example, oh, you can't write about this, even though it's what we were talking about. It's like, what am I
yeah,
doing? Like, what are we doing?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's bizarre. It was the strangest thing. I was like, but you are displaying this product and you were on the stage, you announced it, then
Mm,
why can't I write about it? They're like, no, not at this time. We can write about it later when it's like, what is this?
yeah.
Then why the biggest thing that you are promoting on the stage is something that I can't write about. So
It makes
What do I write about?
yeah, it makes no sense. So when you go to like you were saying how you got into writing and stuff, I think I asked you this last week, but I'm quite curious because like there's people like there's a whole thing at the moment with like citizen journalism, I guess, and people writing what they're doing. Like when you go to these things, how do you either as a conference or you see a story, like how does Victor's mind work? Like how do you think of like I don't even know the right question, but do you do you think it out from like the reader's perspective? Do you think it out from
Mm,
just a personal, would I use that perspective?
mm,
And how do you like those bit like speaking to Andrew Ng, he's a
yeah,
key Don player in the area. Love his work, love what he's done. Like how do you go into those interviews thinking, do you just I don't know, how do you navigate all
yeah,
that as like a someone who's
yeah.
very
So as I said, that writing for the past 5, 6 years shapes your mind, right? Now you know about a lot of things. Then I'm also receiving constant emails from Fortune 500 companies and the biggest tech players, and even smaller players, medium-sized players out there. So I'm always updated, right? I'm always reading a lot. Then I also keep an eye on what's happening recently. What's happening in the tech space, what's happening around us. So I'm already aware of a bunch of things. So that's the first thing. Now, talking about creativity and how I shape an angle, I focus on two, three things. One is the time, of
mm,
course, what is happening right now. Second is impact, whether it be impact on the industries, impact on the daily users, or if it's for consumers, then the impact on the consumers. And and my third thing is why and the key differentiator, right? Like, has this been done in before? Is this one of a kind in innovation?
mm,
Or if there are other players, then a comparative analysis. So when I keep in mind of these three things and I ask questions accordingly. I in my stories especially, I do not like to preach. Like in the early days of my career, I used to preach, like I felt like I'm preaching a lot, like literally I am telling someone that this is the way it should be. And then um
that's cool.
yeah, so I lit analyzed and introspected in that a little bit. And then now I don't teach. I try to gather opinions if I'm speaking to someone, whether it be on a Zoom call or whether it be live, and I try to gather his perspectives, understand the technology from his perspective, and then um, follow up with my questions, right? And if you said Andrew Ng, and someone like him, it's just conversations are really easy because he is a teacher and he understands how to tell things in a better way,
Yeah.
how to make people understand things in a better way. So it's always a fascinating conversation with him, and that's why he's my idol. But for others, what I try to see is how does it impact the industry? How does it impact a consumer's life?
Mm,
Like, what changes can it create within the society? Like, what is the impact of this technology, or what is the impact of this development?
mm,
And because I'm aware on a daily basis of a lot of things, then I can like cross question whether it be the company, whether it be the person, and that gives me the ability to cross question. Like recently, for example, I was at NTT and they uh, launched a group called Physics of AI Group, where they are trying to find how an AI thinks. And he was showing me a couple of examples on how they're doing it. And because I've worked in AI and I've coded certain models, and so I could ask him a lot of questions back that isn't this benchmarking? How is this different from benchmarking? Like, and then he explained it to me, right? So there were 10 journalists there, but a lot of people were not asking, like, how are you doing this?
yeah.
So my thing is to explore how.
Yeah.
How are you doing this? Like companies all the time talk about that they're doing this, they're doing that, and then this is the product and this is amazing and this is that. But you need to cut through that promotional aspect of it and understand the how and the impact of this technology and the key differentiator and the thought behind, releasing the product. Every company, when it releases a product, they have a thought behind it that, hey, we see that the market and they're not doing this, we'll do this.
Hmm.
It's all about exploring the key differentiators and in how then it impacts the consumers. Sometimes it is directly impacting the consumers. Let's say something like a chat GPT, or the I wrote about the gamification trend and other things, and products from Google and Perplexity and Anthropic. Sometimes it's directly impacting the consumer. Sometimes it is impacting consumers in a different way, like it is helping an industry grow,
Yeah.
and then it is reaching a consumer's life. So it is my thought process is about the impact, and not only, having that article for a C-suite, although most of my audience is C-suite, like especially my articles for Fast Company are C-suite, like the audiences, they especially tailored towards the C-suite, but I also try to tone it down and simplify the language for a general reader as well. Someone who is curious about technology, wants to know more, but how do I spark that curiosity within him,
Yeah.
right? So that he does not only read my article but goes to Google and try to explore more about the concept as well. And in tandem, he reads a lot of other people's articles as well, right? So great for the industry. So that's my thing, that how do I simplify complex technical perspectives and serve both these readers? Um, of course, sometimes I have to use a little bit too complex technical language, but I try to boil it down and tone it down as much as possible. And I'm like to focus on the impact as much as possible. And why now, right? There's also a reason that you're covering this story. I've seen a lot of journalists cover story just for the sake of covering it,
Mm.
right? But it's not, sometimes it's not timely. Like, let's say, like, coincidence or not, or my analysis, I covered Kira learning, and now we talked about like Trump, passing that law. So
Yeah.
it was the right time. That why now? So it was the right time. AI in education
Yeah.
is the correct time. So there also is a timing aspect of it that you
Okay.
have to understand to cover the story, and that's how I try to craft my angles. That what is happening in the society?
Yeah.
Are there any problems that are yet to be solved? Are you solving that problem? Is your technology or your product trying to solve that problem? So exploring those aspects, and how are you doing it?
Yeah.
Most people know something is happening, but never know how is it happening. Like, are you
Yeah.
developing on your own? Are you collaborating with others? Is
Yeah.
it the in-house technology? Did you do something substantial while researching on this technology? What were the discoveries? So the how,
Yeah.
you know, because I remember my days when I used to read articles, and I was young and I was in high school and stuff. I never found that how within stories. I was always curious, but how are they doing it? And then I had to have to go to Google and this time like, what is this? And go to their website and read through it.
Yeah.
Because no one was explaining how this is happening and what is exactly happening. Like, what do you mean by this?
Yeah.
So my thing is to give the readers maximum amount of information whenever they're hopping to my article. And angles, yes, I always, because I'm keeping an eye on the latest happening, so angles automatically come to mind. Sometimes my angles get further refined when I'm speaking to someone and they give a certain response, and I'm like, okay, I didn't know about this. I didn't know this. Thank you so much. And then it further refines your angles. So I have a basic thought in mind always. I have a basic thought and a basic structure that I think this is something, okay, this relates to. what's happening currently, and this is how the story would go. And then things come up in conversation.
Yeah.
And as I said, instead of me preaching, it's about gathering insights from experts, people who live and breathe in the domain, and then writing about it. Like let's say I wrote an article about Ghiblification. So I was exploring like the copyright implications of Ghibli. Like people are generating this art, but it's also proprietary to Ghibli Studio. So
Yeah.
what are the copyright implications? And instead of me exploring or just me just blankly writing about it, that, oh, hey, now it's copyright and it's a copyright issue. OpenAI is gonna be facing some things. What I chose is talk to an IP attorney,
Yeah.
get insights from him, get him in my story,
Yeah.
and
So
ask him.
now we'll know
So
exactly.
so it has to be grounded in reality and grounded in facts from the right people.
Yeah.
And then, end my story with a question that what do the readers think about, will this continue? What do they think?
Mm.
We have, now that you read my story and we have explored such thing, what do you think about it? And you go home or close the article with a thought in mind
Yeah.
that you want to discuss with your friends that, hey, I read this article today and it really, like, I'm just so curious about, do you guys know about this? And then the discussions happen. And then it like would grow, then things grow like a wildfire. So that's my aim always. Uh and if you're reading my article, then you don't have to Google anything, is another goal. That I give you everything, I give you all the backlinks, all the information.
That's awesome.
Uh yeah, so 98% of the times I'm successful, 1 or 2% of times, things happen.
That's a high success rate, man. Like, it's like an 80-20 rule. Usually it's like 80% of your success comes from 20% of what you do, or 20% of what you do leads to 80% of your success, whichever way you want to look at it. Do you remember do you remember the first time you wrote an article that blew up and did well using that kind of framework that you just mentioned? Like, was it at Analytics India magazine, or was it when you got to VentureBeat? Or do you remember looking at it and thinking, why did that story perform so well compared to the other stories that I did that I thought were just as good? Why did that one
Hmm.
get the traction?
Yeah. Yeah. So, as I mentioned, the preachy part that I see within many, I see many journalists doing that, just like preaching in their stories and telling. And that's what
Yeah.
I used to do, right, in my initial stories. Uh, and when I changed that and when I inculcated a lot more voices in my stories, I found success. So I remember the first story was about, so for AIM, Analytics India magazine, I used to write these short technical blogs
Mm-hmm.
where I aim to help like college students and university teachers to you know uh, either teach something to their students, a short project like a coding project to their students, or for students to read the article and create a summer project that they can use in their final years, right? So these articles used to be like a blog of what that article is,
Mm-hmm.
and a code and the explanation of the code, what is happening in each step, and at the end, the result and what changes you can make. And then there used to be a link to the Google Colab file, which used to contain all the code for students to try on their own and make changes.
Right.
So I one time I remember I did a article about a video generation technology using transformers. That blew up because a lot of students and a lot of teachers read that blog and started teaching their students, or either students created final year projects using my code, and that blew up within university circles. And started, all of a sudden, I started receiving a lot of messages on LinkedIn that, thank you so much. This is amazing. My teacher was so impressed. And I got like good grades. I got a 9 out of 10 in my final year project. Thank you so much. But no one knows I copied for your code. I was like, okay, good for you. Good, good, great. Like if you're happy, I'm happy. I'm happy to help someone
Yeah,
in their journey. So that's how it initially started. I started making my name in the space within universities, within colleges in India and US. Uh, I was receiving messages from students from Dubai, which was, I was like, wow, uh, it has reached there. I was like, that's fascinating. And the article was being shared over WhatsApp and Telegram and WeChat, and uh, that was amazing. And then I did some great stuff with Venture when I was at VentureBeat. That was the start of my interview journey as well. When my credibility within the space grew, a lot of people approached me that, you know, a lot of great people. Although I used to interview people before as well, but a lot of great personalities, like whether it be people from Amazon or Nvidia or at someone like Andrew Ng, they started approaching me and started talking to me and uh,
that's awesome.
wanted to contribute in my stories and wanted to be a part of my stories. So that was great to see. And the goal with all my stories when I was doing such stories was also to market them in a certain way. So I also always what I used to do was that immediately that the story used to get published, I used to put in a Twitter post and a LinkedIn post uh, so that it reaches the right people, tagging the company. And then through a lot of likes and reposts, my name spread across social media. And within the tech space. And a lot of people found the articles and the insights to be great. Won't name companies again, but I am also part of a lot of companies' stocks falling, which I later got to know.
Yeah,
Even recently, I was part of me and CNBC. We wrote an article. We were the first ones to write about a certain thing, and the company's stock just fell the next day by 7%. Big company,
yeah,
massive market hold,
yeah,
but it fell by 7% because of a certain thing. So even that happened. So it's now it's good to see that articles and can create such impact within the industry. There are analysts sitting all the time trying to analyze and figure out the next big thing or figure out the next big development from companies. And articles are the major source, right? If a CEO is saying something or he's confident about something that my company is going to do or shatter the market in the next 2 years, then that gives a lot of people a lot of confidence to invest in the company or like keep an eye and watch on the company as well, right?
yeah,
So it's great to see that impact and you know uh, unexpectedly see the love that I've received from people because I could cater. I was successful, as I said, 98% of the time, catering both the audiences in one story, right?
yeah,
That for me to crack was the hard part. To, to how to make even the normal reader understand these concepts. I remember I used to share every time my VentureBeat article used to get published, and I was experimenting on this line, that how do I blur the line between these two readers and how do I keep both of them in track?
yeah.
And every time my article used to get published, I used to send that article to my girlfriend, and I was like, what are you doing? She's like, no, I'm on lunch. I was like, read this article. Tell me if you understood anything about this. And then she was the source of my feedback. Right? She used to, yeah, I used to, yeah, yeah. So I used her as my go-to person for feedback. I used to share the article to her, and I was like, "What did you understand? So what did you understand what is happening in the industry right now?" She's like, "Yeah, but what is this? What is a transformer? What is a GPT?" I was like, "Okay, got it. So next time I have to break it down even further for you."
Yeah,
So that's where, and I used to share it with my friends on WhatsApp groups or on Twitter groups and LinkedIn groups to see what the people's reaction is, uh, and get their feedback, like my friends saying, okay, I did not understand this, or this was really unclear,
Yeah,
or why is this within the story? That doesn't make sense. So I tried to make my stories better and better, slowly better and better, with these feedbacks coming in from the LinkedIn groups and the Twitter groups and my friends groups and my girlfriend. And then I tried to, eventually make the stories better, simpler, headlines more sorted, everything more sorted. So it was crazy that the love that I received today and the amount of uh, reads on each story and the amounts of likes and reposts in the story. And even you texting me the other day that you found a couple of stories on AI Journal. I'm really happy to be now contributing to AI Journal as well. Uh, I think it's a great, great platform, and the work that you're doing for writers is absolutely outstanding. I think it's one of a kind. No one is as generous in today's market as you have been, and you're providing a voice to writers and providing a voice to people. So even the love coming from you, so that gives me even more confidence. The love that or the feedback that I receive on a day-to-day basis, whether it be I'm really active on LinkedIn, on a daily I receive LinkedIn messages, and or people just like CEOs just uh, e- uh, like I did not tell them to share the article, but they just like shared it,
yeah,
um, CEO, a different company's article being shared by a different company's CEO because
yeah.
he
Great
just
feedback.
liked yeah.
Yeah,
So that he just liked the article because he liked the article. So that's great to see, and I'm happy I could, blur those lines and serve a wide base of audience, not just C-suites or targeting a certain domain of readers, but to
yeah,
serve everyone and anyone who reads my article to be find it informative no matter the age group.
yeah.
You can be 15 years old, you can be 60 years old, and still find the article. Still, you learn something or gain a certain amount of insights whenever you read my story.
Massively. I think it's you made some really good points, Victor, because how people I don't know how people use these articles, and like you were giving that example there, like about the impact and influence writers can have, like writing at Observer, Fast Company, and all these great publications you're writing at now. And it's interesting because it really does show through that people, especially writers, in my opinion, like you were just explaining there, you have like a real passion in helping people and understanding a topic, and it's not about whether propping the company up. It's about helping the
Yeah,
reader. And I always think, like, as a publication, my job, and your kind words about it, I always thought, like, the reason for this the AI journal is our customer. And I always tell Steve, like, my business partner, that our customer is our reader. I was like, it sounds really weird, but the moment we start trying to shift to move towards the what do I call them, vendors or B2B companies, the SaaS companies, the ones that usually buy from us, it just messes everything up because our job is not to be a machine for you guys. Our job is to help the reader. And if we have more readers, we're probably going to do better financially, maybe. But regardless of that, like you get into media, like I heard someone say, because you genuinely care and you genuinely have a passion. It's really not about those other things. And I think it's important because some of the best writers I know that have written best-selling New York Times books have come from a journalistic background, and just the influence they can have. Like I heard about one guy who was on My First Million. It's a really good podcast if you've ever listened to it. My First Million had this journalist on, and he basically was like the Silicon Valley. I forget his name. He's basically the one that covered. I'll send you a link after. He basically covered. It's only 45 minutes, but he was explaining. He covered a lot of like Steve Jobs. He met Steve Jobs, had like phone calls, did all these things. Like met it as like the early 2000s, as Silicon Valley was exploding with Meta and Amazon and Microsoft and all these new tools and everything. I mean, Microsoft are already big, but building all these new innovations for the companies. And he was basically explaining how Jeff Bezos reached out to him because he had this experience on a plane where the Kindle, for some reason, it was like 2014, you weren't allowed to use them. And he basically said, "This is bullshit," and he just went in on this story and like started like getting like plane engineers, went to test facilities, went to all these things because of his access to being a journalist. wrote this story, and because of that, the FFA, or whatever they're called, the airline or authorization group, um, retracted that and took it away and said you can. They no longer class Kindles, and because of that, sales of the Kindle shot up by God knows how much percent. And he says he explains it on the call much better than I did on the podcast, but says like Jeff Bezos was ringing him like, "Thank you, like our stock price is soaring. We sold so many Kindles." Because of what you said. And he's like, my goal wasn't to do that. My goal was from an annoyance that I know loads of other people had as an annoyance, and I just solved that problem. And it's similar to the other end of the spectrum, like you were saying, how like you see cases like Theranos collapsed because of the New York Times, the New York Times or Wall Street Journal maybe, because they were just saying you're not telling a full story, like you're lying and you're not
Yeah.
telling the true picture. And I think there are still journalists out there, similar to what you were explaining, doing that job today. And to me, that's proper journalism you can only admire because it's just like you are doing a service to the people. Like you really are.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my thing is simple. Love me or hate me, but that's the truth. You
Yeah,
know,
it's a good point.
that's the crux of my stories. Everything I write. Like you can love it, you can hate it, but that's the truth. And that for me is a thing because, you know, everyone knows that no matter how much, fascinating you find it, let's even say Apple phone,
Mm.
right? It's a fascinating technology, it's a great phone, but there are shortcomings to it.
Yeah.
There are other phones that have a better, let's say, a better interface. Let's
Well,
say better.
The Pixel and the Samsung always get
Yeah,
better reviews. Like
yeah,
MKBC was
exactly.
like they're
Yeah,
better
yeah,
than the
yeah, yeah.
Apple phone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or a better interface than iOS. But Apple has what Apple has cracked is, streamlining the technology, making it easier for their user base. And they have a certain user base in mind, you know, with the pros and the Pro Maxes. But yeah, but if we talk about like if it's competitive and on a competitive side, there are technologies better than that, right?
Yeah.
So you cannot hide it from the world because the consumer, if you tell the consumer, okay, that is okay, mine is the best or this is the best thing, then the consumer buys it because he read an article or something like that, and then later realizes, oh, this was cheaper. Oh, this I just really bought the hype.
Yeah.
And I just don't want to do that, right? Especially because there are analysts out there, there are people looking forward to technology, there are people. So there's no point in just giving them high hopes and at the end of at the end of the day or at the time the product releases, it is not as it was written about.
Mm.
Like I see out all the time, I see that people write, okay, releasing this year in May, and when the product comes out in May, or when the technology or the AI chatbot comes out in May, it is not up to the par
Yeah.
that it was being written about. It has this and it has that, and this will do this, and this will just, crash industries, and this is the next big thing. But there has to be some facts. And my stuff is simple. Even when I go to conferences, I tell the PR companies, I was like, I'm not gonna be completely promotional.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write a story, and this is what I'm gonna write about. And I'm sorry, I'm not gonna be completely promotional.
Yeah.
Uh, there has to be my opinions. There has to be a comparative analysis of this. Uh, but yes, good work is always highlighted. But I will not be like completely like praising your company. If you have an opinion, like, in my latest Fast Company article, Ram said a certain thing about NVIDIA and their technology and how Broadcom is competitive with NVIDIA uh, on their platform. So if there's like something or some view that from coming from you or you want to share something, there's always appreciated, but people need to know and the readers need to read the ground.
Yeah.
And you can hate me for it, and as I said, like I have also received a lot of hate, and I'm not always on a good side, and not always invited to conferences, to every conference,
Yeah,
because I wrote a certain thing about them. But I don't care about
yeah,
that.
good idea. It's
Although
fine you're doing the right
although
thing, Victor.
yeah, although I love to learn new things, and I'm always up for in-person things, but it's fine. If you want to hate the truth, then what can I do about it? You know what I mean? So if you want to hate the truth, you can. I can do nothing about it, but that's the truth. And my job is to not just show that, hey, everything is glittery, like quantum computing. So many people wrote that, okay, this is the next big thing, this is happening, this is this, but what are the problems? Qubits are not there,
Yeah,
right? And love it or hate it, I wrote about it, that there's still an issue, which is scaling qubits. Qubits are not there yet. Yes, quantum computing would be great when the qubits come in,
yeah,
but currently it is solving a lot of problems, but not entirely,
yeah,
right? Quantum computing is not up to the level that it has reached that AI models can't.
yeah,
So that's the reality of it. But I see so many people and so many media houses writing about that. Oh, it is here and it is revolutionizing. Now it is going to change. Like tomorrow, it's going to change your life. It's going to impact you right in the next week. You'll
yeah,
see. But that's not happening, right?
yeah,
And same goes for AI adoption, as we talked, right? AI adoption, AI is this, AI is that, but the industry adoption is still not there.
yeah. Still a
It's
long way to go.
still on in the 55-60% range. 40% of the industries are still yet to adopt AI at scale.
Yeah,
So yeah, it has to be based in fact. And I'm glad a lot of companies also speak about it now, right? That because before they were promoting, I saw a lot of big tech promoting, oh no, our technology is being used by everyone. But now a lot of companies are like showcasing the real facts out there that hey, the market adoption is not there, but we expect it to grow by 2029 or a certain year. So I'm glad to see a lot of companies also
yeah.
hopping on the same boat as
Well, that's a good way to leave it. It's and a good way to end it because I think it's important for people to think about when they're going forward with AI that you hear a lot of noise if you're not careful. And I think you do a brilliant job through your publications of really taking time to understand it, learn it, distill it, um, and break it down. And whether that's a pretty picture or an ugly picture, telling the picture how it is. And I think, I could speak to you for hours more about how AI still got a long way to go. I think the people still haven't figured out how to use the internet properly, in my opinion. The internet's been around like 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, if you consider ARPANET. Um, but, long way to go. Long way to go.
Yeah, but that's the reality. AI is here and AI is now everywhere,
Mm.
and that's the ground truth. Uh, Happy to see the adoption, happy to see people's perspectives change, happy to see job descriptions change, really happy to see the taboo break
Yeah.
because
Well,
uh,
I'm gonna check out some LinkedIn job descriptions and see what see
yeah,
what's going
yeah,
around.
definitely do. You will see a lot of media jobs, a lot of and software jobs
Yeah,
are now mentioned that you should know how to use AI
yeah.
to streamline your workflow.
Yeah, yeah, whatever that means. That's a loaded, loaded word. Streamline your workflow. It's like when people say like when I get press releases or I see people say like leading software solutions provider. I'm like, what does that even mean? Like it's what? Yeah, because I was thinking
And that's in the funny part is it's in every other press release. Every other
yeah,
press
loads.
release, the leading company in data management. Then you're to see another press release, the leading company. I was like, who is exactly?
Yeah, who's leading what? Like, what are they leading? Explain it to me. How have they gained this position? Because I want to know, dude. I can tell you about that. Like I know I've got to be respectful of your time because you got to go, but the things like with PR companies, that's a whole conversation we'll discuss next time because like I have a lot of I'm not saying a bad thing about them, but I do question like how they pitch stories through their different distribution channels and whether they send them directly through places like Business Wire or Cision or straight to publishing or to public or to journalists like yourself. Like, I think they've got a big um, learning curve coming up because some of the things I read from them, I don't think they understand it. And I'm like, how are you representing this customer if I can't understand it in basic terms? And I don't know. I think there's like a big awakening coming for that area or how they communicate
Yeah.
with journalists because there's so many
Yes.
citizen journalists. Like I was speaking to one, and I was like, "Dude, I was like, this person speaks about it, but he doesn't have a publication. He just writes on Substack." And there was another one that writes on Beehive, and I was like they're just not going to listen to you, or I'd be amazed if they do. Like it's a big thing, citizen journalism and stuff.
Yeah. Even I have a hard time sometimes. I was like, what are you exactly trying to say in this press release?
Yeah,
Is it here? Are you doing this or are you not doing this? Or are you like trying to play safe? So that happens a lot of time. That's why I do not like write traditional news anymore. Like I used to do that for VentureBeat a little bit, like 50% opinions, 50% general news. But I have stopped like general news completely, because everyone is so promotional and everyone's the best. There's no point, hyping up half-baked facts
yeah, like
with
regurgitating a
just,
press release,
yeah.
putting a
Yeah,
slide.
just like writing on press release and asking a couple of questions and just writing on based on a press release. Like I
Yeah,
have just like entirely stopped that. I don't think there's any truth to it, like half-baked facts. And as I said, I've had weird conference experiences as well. So yeah, a whole lot promotional, whole lot less true to the value.
yeah. Have you got any? Are you going to any conferences anytime soon? You got any coming up, Victor?
I am planning to. I have Red Hat in my mind. Of course, SAP, the Snowflake conference upcoming Lenovo World. Let's see how many I get invited to.
Yeah, that's it.
Because because a lot of companies are just yeah, I am a villain in a lot of companies' eyes now. But yeah, that's how it is. That's the part and parcel of
But
uh,
you're a hero. A
the
lot of
job.
people. You're a hero in a lot of people's lives. Like seeing your work with Andrew Ng and everything. If he's going to listen to you, I'd say the other people are absolute morons if they don't listen to you. Because if someone's not paying attention and speaking to you for years, like what you first met him in 2022, and he's still keeping an open relationship with you, he's probably one of the
Yeah,
most transparent people I've seen through like AI Fund, Coursera, and just generally seems like a really nice person. So
yeah.
yeah, it's bizarre people take that stuff.
Yeah, it was kind of him because he does not follow a lot of journalists, and he
Yeah.
followed me. I was like, wow, okay, that's an achievement. Okay,
Yeah.
not only him, but a lot of people from Intel,
Mm.
a lot of people from NVIDIA, uh, a lot of people, great people from and New York Stock Exchange and such companies. Now they follow me on LinkedIn, and it's just great to see
Yeah, it's awesome, man.
that they support these angles, they support these perspectives. So they support seeing people who support the truth and people who know stuff uh like 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 the real stuff. So that's the fact, right? People who do not know the complete aspect of a certain happening or a certain thing, then they would be like, oh, what are you writing about? But people who are living and breathing in the industry uh, like my articles, and it's just great to see the love from them. And that's what, now that I've started writing for AI Journal as well, that's my goal with AI Journal as well, is that, now that you are providing journalists with a platform to showcase their voice, my goal is to, share a lot more stories based on the ground reality. No promotion, no nothing promotional or nothing like praising, but something that is based on the ground reality, how you're solving in it, telling people or giving people perspectives that will add value to their life, to their day-to-day life, or to help them learn something new,
Yeah.
and a new insight with every story. And that's my goal. Uh, and there are people like you and people like others in the industry who support it. And I see a massive positive change coming
Yeah.
within the media and the tech industry as a whole. So um, I'm just waiting to see it in full force. So
Well,
kudos to
you're going to
you,
see it
kudos
full
to
force,
others.
man. You're going to see it in full force next to me, and it's. I appreciate everything you do, and I think it's. Yeah, it's exactly as you said. I think there's a big movement coming towards that area, and me and you are going to go through it, and it's going to be awesome to see. And like I said, Victor, we'll have one of our podcasts. I'm sure I'll have you on hopefully a few more times before then, but we'll have one in our spaceship, and we'll be able to. Maybe I'll have my own spaceship. You can come. I'll have a spaceship just for podcasting. Like, who knows what quantum computing would unlock? You'll have your own
Oh yeah.
you'll have your own space for writing articles or so. I don't know. Like it'll be a crazy world. Like, hey, want to come over to the studio? Like just zip it. Like, imagine. Yeah. Tell people where they can find you, man. What you're doing next, and yeah, where people can get in touch and read your articles on places like the Observer, Fast Company, AI Journal, and your previous companies that you've written for, like VentureBeat. But tell people where they can find you.
Yeah, so you can just Google me, Victor Day, on Google, and my LinkedIn profile would show up. And definitely, please follow me on LinkedIn. I'm doing great work, and or I'm trying to do great work. I have bylines in the New York Observer. All the links to the bylines are in my LinkedIn profile. So definitely go check them out. And of course, you can type Victor Day AI Journal, and it would be the first search result that would show up. And you can read my stories on AI Journal as well. And I would urge the readers, if you like something, please share, whether it be Twitter, whether it be LinkedIn, engage, spread the word, spread these insights to a lot of people. I think the next wave is all about people knowing about AI and growing with AI. So help educate people, help everyone around you learn something new. So whether it be my articles or anyone else's article, spread the word, spread the message. And yeah, as I said, I'm really active on LinkedIn, so you can Google Victor Day on either on LinkedIn or Google. And yeah, I have these stories coming in on a daily for Observer, Fast Company, and now AI Journal as well. You can also find me on Hacker Noon as well. I'm an
Okay.
active contributor on Hacker Noon as
Awesome. Well, I'm here for it. So, and I'm hoping to get to meet you in person at one of the conferences coming up. Victor, big fan of what you do. Encourage everyone to go check you out and see what you're doing. And yeah, I'm sure I'm going to keep pestering you on WhatsApp with cool stories I'm seeing and funny things happening until we meet again, either in person or online. But yeah, big fan of big fan of your work, and appreciate you joining today, man.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tom. Means a lot coming from you, and thanks for having me on this podcast. Excited to see how we collaborate and help grow the space together.
Yeah, let's rock and roll. Be a lot more stuff coming, but appreciate it. And once again, Victor Day. See you soon, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much.